You're wondering why you're here, right? You're in this session right now. Many of you are probably struggling with this notion of content and lots of things, which is why you're at this conference, and congratulations. You've taken the first step or the second step by coming to this conference at all and being in this session. But one of the things that I've learned over the last year and a half as I've been giving this presentation is that a lot of you are feeling overwhelmed. So let's have a show of hands. How many of you are feeling overwhelmed? Whoa, look around the room. Yeah. Okay, how many of you are scared to raise your hand? Yeah, in the back, right? Exactly. It's okay. It's almost lunchtime. You can raise your hand. I'm going to ask you to do it a few times. It's good. So I've been doing this presentation for a while, a lot of presentations to marketers, not this one, but I always start with this question because I think it's good for you to know that you're not alone, right? Everybody in this room, most everybody in this room raised their hand. Some of you are too scared to do it. It's fine. But the issue is there are a lot of things that are hitting us all at once. The pace of change, the scale that we need to deliver has really created this feeling of overwhelmedness, if I can make that word up. And it's not like we have an army. I haven't met a marketer yet who's got more time than they know what to do with, or more budget than they know what to do with, or more people than they know what to do with, right? It's just not happening. If you'll pardon my inner math geek, one of the reasons for this feeling of being overwhelmed, I believe, is centered on this notion of acceleration. If you remember from your vector analysis math and sometime in high school, maybe college, acceleration is simply a change in velocity over the change in time. This pace of change that we're working through today is accelerating beyond our normal capacity. It's no longer enough to just do 10% better than we did last year. The pace of scale, the scale that we need to deliver for our organizations, we need to deliver a 10x change. 10% better than last year isn't going to be enough. 10% more of last year isn't going to be enough. Right, so we're creating this moment where everything is happening to us. There are so many things that are impacting us, and it's all moving faster than ever before. So let's look at some of those drivers of change. So there's two things that I would highlight, and we're going to talk a lot about today, that are impacting this feeling of overwhelmingness and change. So first and foremost is this concept of generational dynamics. So if you sat in on Matt Hines' session yesterday, you got a sneak preview of some of the research that we launched together with Matt yesterday, and we're going to dig in a little bit more on that today. And the second thing is the preferences and what our prospects want to engage and how they want to engage with you are changing, and they're changing pretty dramatically, and they're changing pretty rapidly. We have this feeling that things just aren't working the way they used to. We can't necessarily put our finger on it, but things are that we did last year, the year before, 2 years before that worked well, maybe aren't working quite as well as they used to. We're working twice as hard, but we're not delivering twice the same result. All these things are stacking up on top of each other. And there's this one big problem that many of us are facing. Many of us in this room are millennials, not me, but many of you are. There's this generational shift that's happening in our market. And of course, I had to put a hashtag in there because it's been the selfie generation. I'm Gen X. It's okay. We were called the slacker generation. There you go. Some Gen Xers in the room. Woo! Yes, Reality Bites, great movie. So we lived it. So some of you in the room are saying, it's fine, I'm in B2B, I don't sell to millennials. It's not my problem. It's always been a B2C problem. And I don't really know why we call it a problem, but it seems to be the popular vernacular. And I'm here to tell you, unfortunately, that you're wrong. The millennials are here, and they're here to stay. One of the reasons for this is that buying committees have gotten very big. So CEB put out some research that said in an enterprise purchase, 6.7 decision makers are involved in a purchase. I'd like to meet the 0.7. But they're getting bigger. And in our research, again, that we did with Matt Hines, we looked at, if you're an organization north of 100 employees, you've got about 6 people involved in the decision. When you isolate on 1,000 employees or more, that number jumps to 10. So just imagine that for a second. If you're trying to sell to the enterprise, even to mid-sized businesses, if you have 10 people involved in trying to make a decision about your product or your service or your solution, that's a lot of people, right? And the dynamics of those 10 people are changing right out from underneath of us. It's no longer sort of this notion of that we've always thought of it before. It looks a lot more like this, right? We've got multiple generations in the buying committees today. We have the millennials who are aging into it. We got the baby boomers who are starting to retire, and then the Gen X who are squarely involved. In our research, we discovered that we surveyed 500 plus people who were involved in making buying decisions. 13% of the millennials we surveyed already have decision-making authority. Another 27% have influence. So 40% of the millennials we surveyed who are involved in making purchasing decisions for their company, they are either influencing or buying. So this is a thing that's happening. Okay, so what? Who cares? It's fine. They're just people. We're all people. The reason why it matters is we're seeing this dramatic shift in how people want to engage and how people want to interact with you. And when we looked at specifically millennials and why they choose to work with a certain company or not work with a certain company, it is dramatically different than what we have been used to historically over the last N number of years, right? The millennial approach we discovered from our research is this concept of me before we. It's not the entitled version, the negative version of that. It's simply the millennials that I meet, the people that I talk to, they have no fear. Like, they're not worried about process and whatever the systems and structures that are supposed to be in place. They have a problem. They want to go solve the problem, which is great. You just have to lean into that. You have to understand what's happening there. And they're far more likely to think focused on a problem that they're faced with than as opposed to the rest of the team. Right, so as you're thinking about your marketing and sales strategies, you sort of lean into that and understand that dynamic. Secondly, we term them the sales avoiders. The millennial generation, more than any other generation, does not want to talk to sales. They will do it grudgingly at the very end of the process because they know they have to. Other generations get involved and get sales involved much earlier in the process, even though it's probably later than just in the beginning. But if your sales team gets somebody from my generation on the phone, we sort of grudgingly talk to you because we know we're going to have to. This generation does not. And also, very interesting, our research showed that they look more at the values and what the company stands for over the product features. Surely the product has to be able to do, the solution has to be able to do whatever it is it says. But when they're making purchasing decisions, it's almost more important to them what is the company stand for than what does the product actually do. Which is interesting. It's very different than what we've seen before. So what does this mean for our traditional playbook? If we think about the generational change that's happening as the millennials are aging onto the buying committee and other generations are moving off. So marketers are really, really good at doing all the things. It's amazing. Despite our best efforts to do less, we do all the things. And because we're doing all the things, we're probably doing lots of things not so well as opposed to a few things really well. On my team, in our where we sit in our office, we actually have a whiteboard, and on that whiteboard we have a graveyard, which is meant to signify all the things that we're not going to do. Really good ideas, we're just not going to do them. We've been doing this for a year and a half. 7 things. 7 things we said we're not going to do. That's not enough, right? We know we're very focused on trying to do less things, and yet even ourselves, we do too much. Some research from CMI, 70% of B2B marketers said they'll create more content this year than last. How many of you created more content this year? Yeah. How many of you are going to create more content next year? Right, exactly. We're going to keep publishing more and more content. So we put this unbelievably well-researched chart together about the number of white papers that have been produced over time. Right? Exponential. And unfortunately, it all starts to look like this. Hopefully nobody from Adobe is in the room. I've shown this slide in a different context, and there was 9 people from Adobe, and they sort of looked at me cross-eyed. I'm like, that's fine. It's good. I like the product. So we're in this world where we've learned. We've been to this conference for 10 years running. We listened to HubSpot talk about inbound. We understand the value of content. Robert and Joe have done an amazing job evangelizing the idea of content as a brand to help tell your story differently. And that is amazing work. The content is great. The problem is there's too much of it. You're producing content, your competitors are producing content, your competitors' competitors are producing content, and it all looks like this. So, but anyway, as marketers, we're doing all the things. We're putting out this content, and particularly in B2B, but in a lot of different contexts, we put a lead gate in front of it. Said, I got to generate some leads. So my content's awesome. It's going to be great. I'm going to put a lead gate in front of it. And you're going to, and now as the prospect, you're going to see my awesome content. You're really going to want to read it. So I'm going to give you my name, my first name, my company, my title, the name of my firstborn child. It's going to be great, and I'm going to download that now because I'm super excited about it. Okay? So I've downloaded this content. Again, I'm now the prospect, and I open up this white paper that I'm so super excited about, and all magical vistas are in front of me. I get to see, like, oh, this is great. This is exactly what I wanted to read. And I give you a call, and I say, please take my money. Right? How many of you have read a white paper, called the company up, or took the sales call that came 45 seconds later, and said, yeah, I want to buy your product? You did? No? Okay. Exactly. It doesn't happen. And yet, particularly in B2B, but in a lot of contexts, we do it. That sales call is coming 45 seconds after you download it. Why? So it's our Bible, right? We've built these magical scoring models that say, okay, you downloaded my white paper, so I'm going to give you 10 points. Cool. You visited my platform page on my website, so that's good, so we're going to give you 5 points for that. You opened 5 of the 1,000 emails I sent you, so that's great. That's intent, plus 15 points. Yes. You attended a webinar. That's good. That's showing your interest in my content. That's another plus 10 points. And good news. My name starts with A. Your name starts with A. That's fantastic. You're going to cross the magic scoring threshold, and you're qualified for sales. Nothing on there said anything about intent. It just said you like my content. Right? Great. That's good. But when you send that lead over to sales, what happens? Well, they're onto your game. They treat all the leads the same. They don't have time, particularly in transactional organizations, they don't have time to really parse out and differentiate their calling strategy based on the fact that you downloaded this white paper or that webinar or attended that webinar or came to this show, right? They are just picking up the phone, doing a little cursory scan, and making a call in many organizations. So when they get you on the phone, they qualify you the exact same way every time. Most organizations that I've talked to and or been part of, sales has 5, 6, 7, maybe 9 questions that they ask every single prospect, designed to figure out if you're a good prospect for your company and whether or not you're a good prospect for your company right now. Right? So they do that. They get you on the phone, and they do it by making a lot of cold calls, right? HubSpot calls this inbound, by the way, but it's a lot of cold calling. Sidebar, this is an actual sales rep on our sales team in an actual snowstorm making sort of fake phone calls for this video. You can actually see the truck in the back is actually the NBC Live truck setting up to talk about this epic snowstorm that was happening in Boston. And these guys went out and shot a video. Why not? Of course. And you can watch the video there if you want to check it out. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. So sales makes a lot of calls. And here's the problem. This is my desk. What's missing from my desk? Yeah, there's no phone. By the way, my desk has never looked better. So Melissa, who's not here today, staged that for me. I was like, oh, thanks for cleaning my desk. It's never going to look that good again. There's no phone. How many of you have a phone on your desk? I should ask the other way. How many of you don't have a phone on your desk? Right, exactly. This is an ongoing trend. Who wants a sales call? If you want to get to me, you know how to get to me either through email, through somebody I know, or you have my mobile number. The only people calling my desk phone are vendors that I don't want to talk to. Right, we're avoiding sales. So we send you these, sales then turns around and says, okay, I can't get you on the phone. I'm going to send you these awesome emails. Are you dead? Did you get eaten by alligators? Right? Again, thanks for Melissa for providing that email. She made that. That's not actually. We're not going to pick on Steve, the sales guy. So we're sending all these emails, and we're getting it's exponential growth. Everybody's copying off each other, right? So this experience we talked about here, right, is one company to one prospect. You have competitors. Your competitors have also identified this particular person as a prospect for them, and they're doing the exact same thing. And then the prospect you're targeting is probably not a prospect just for your thing that you're selling, but also a prospect for maybe 5 or 6 or 7 other things who are also doing this exact same thing, right? And then there's another 10 industries who think that there should be a good prospect, so it becomes overwhelming. It's too much. And guess what? Also from our research, prospects hate it. How many of you like the phone call 45 seconds after you download the white paper? Right. None of you. Nobody raised their hand. I know some of you are still scared. I get it, but no one's doing it. So the idea that people can, in early stage research, are going to your website, downloading your content, engaging with your content, and actually doing something of value that signals you are a hot lead for sales isn't happening anymore. So it's not working. So, yeah. So my daughter, my 15-year-old daughter says this to me all the time, Dad, the struggle's real, right? In our world, right? Okay. Thanks for the laugh. I'll tell you guys laughed. She'll think that's funny. If she's talking to me. So sorry. In our world, right, so we have to deliver that 10x change, that 10x result to our company, and yet the things that we've been doing don't work as well as they used to, right? In no world does that cute little puppy turn into that big dog just because you did it 10 times more. If you have a nice, neat lead funnel where you put in, you get an n number of leads at the top of the funnel, you take those leads, they go over to sales, and they sort of work their way down to close in a nice, neat, orderly manner. If you put 10x more at the top, you are not going to get 10x more at the bottom. In point of fact, you may actually get less than you already did. Because it's very difficult in most businesses to efficiently put 10x more at the top. You can't do it very quickly, it costs a lot of money, and invariably your quality is going to go down. How many of you have been a part of a conversation, it's like, ugh, leads are down. Well, our scoring threshold is 45, we got a whole bunch of people who are at 42, let's just send them over to sales, right? That happens. They're not any more qualified, you just decided to open your aperture a little bit, and it's better to send somebody to sales than miss your numbers. We have a fundamental leadership challenge as well, which is a whole other presentation about how to manage these numbers and this activity differently. Again, remember our sea of PDFs, our undifferentiated white papers that are out there. This notion of being able to put it behind a lead gate, it's a very seller-centric playbook, it's about you, not them, is long dead. Sorry, did you want to take a picture of that?
I did.
Okay.
I want to actually tweet it, yeah.
Okay, great. It's in 2017, by the way, you have to watch for the cameras. And you're like, oh, it's a good slide. People want to take a picture of it. So great. You're welcome. So we have these two problems that are coming together, and like two speeding trains, we have a big problem. Right? On the one side, we have the changes in buying committee dynamics. On the other, we have our playbook that just isn't working anymore.